What? What's up? Okay. Welcome to the stream. Say hi in the chat. If you want to come talk live to me right now, then on the Discord there is a live on-air voice channel. Feel free to pop in if you want to come say hi. Otherwise, leave me alone. What are we doing today? On today's agenda, we're doing open source. Specifically, the opensearch output. I'm going to finish some of the work what was being done yesterday. So if you were with me yesterday, then you will hopefully remember there's a pull request that's been open for about 2 years to add opensearch to Benthos, which is basically a copy-paste of the Elasticsearch output that we had, and it's been on the back burner for a long time because it used a bunch of old APIs because it was a copy-paste of the existing Elasticsearch output. There were a lot of issues, but now, for reasons, we are unblocked, so I'm going to try and get this through, going to get this over the finish line. Maybe today. We'll see. I'm going to be going for about an hour, so it depends how much waffling I do and how many questions I get in the chat. So if you want to sabotage my efforts because you hate opensearch and you hate AWS, be sure to say a lot of junk in the chat. Okay, am I sharing my screen already? Yes, I am. Tell me if the music's too loud. Tell me if my voice is too loud. Tell me if your thoughts are too loud. Okay, so here's what we've got so far. OpenSearch output. I have done a little bit of work since yesterday. Since where we finished yesterday, it couldn't compile. So I've gotten a bit further. I've copy-pasted the existing stuff in the current pull request. And there is a big old problem. Hefty problem with this that I'm going to have to solve before we release this output, which is there's not really any error handling. So the pull request that's been proposed, the one that exists currently, one of the things that was stalling the ability to merge it is that they don't really have a strategy for any sort of error handling. In the existing Elasticsearch output, it's quite complicated logic because what we do is we create a bulk request. So we've got a batch of messages. And we create a bulk request, and when we've submitted that request, we actually do it in a loop because some of the items in the batch might fail, some of them might not. So we do a request. The lazy thing to do would be if any of the documents fail to upload, or any of the actions, whatever you want to call it. If any of that stuff fails, then we fail the entire write operation and the entire batch gets rejected. Obviously, depending on what your setup is, what your input is, that could mean NACS, it could mean just retrying the entire batch. But it's generally not a good thing because you might have like a batch of 50 messages, say, and it's only one of them that fails. Also, it might just be like a temporary issue. It might just be like a timeout or something like that. Whereas if we just retry it there and then, it might not be a problem. So what we do in the Elasticsearch helper is we create a bunch of requests. It's kind of like building a request entity, which encapsulates what is the user intending to do, because you can mix like create, update, delete, all these different operations and send them all as one batch. All of that stuff's kind of dynamic. So we have this batch of bulk requests, and then what we do is, so this bulk object that you get from the client library is pretty handy. What you can do is you can see the number of actions that are remaining. So obviously that's going to start with the size of the initial batch. You can do the request and get a result. And what I can then do is I can walk the result items. And if there are some items that failed, we have some logic in here that decides whether or not it's something that should be retried because it's a temporary error, or whether we should mark it as just an absolute failure. Maybe the document can't be indexed or something like that, so it's not worth retrying it. And as we build up this logic, what we end up with is the potential to send back, in Benthos land, it's called like a batch error, which encapsulates... Actually, do we even do that? Or was that a to-do? Looks like we don't actually do that. So we have the potential to send back a like batched error that essentially describes, okay, well, we tried to deliver all the data in this batch, but some of these indexes failed, some of them didn't. You can do whatever you want with that. So if we were knacking upstream, we could just knack the messages that failed, and they get dead letter queued, but not other things. Or, you know, it means that just the ones that failed get retried, or that, whatever. Kind of depends on your config. But in this case, we don't actually do that. We just retry certain statuses, and if there's a non-retriable error, a fundamental one, we just return that error. That's fine. At least we don't get data loss. It's not perfect. We could expand this to do some cool things, but for some reason I have not done that. It might be because it's difficult to associate the failed items with the source data. Could be a reason. Or it could just be something else. I don't know. It's not really something I'm concerned with today. All I need is actual error handling. So what we have right now with this example is a situation where it's like a different API, and it works fundamentally differently. So what you end up with is like a bulk request. That's fine. And then what you do is you close the request. And I'm assuming that by closing the request, that kind of dispatches it in the background or whatever. So that's going to be doing stuff in the background, and at some point it unblocks, or you get a context error. And then what you can do is you can query stats on that bulk. And what they're doing, so what the initial pull request was doing, is looking to see if there was any failed items in there. And if there is, we do an error log. And if not, we have a little debug log describing, hey, cool, we did some stuff. This is unacceptable because, yes, you get an error log, but that data is then lost because you haven't actually returned an error from this output, which means Benthos is going to think that the data was successfully delivered. We cannot have that because that's literal data loss. What we need instead is we need to return an error. Ideally a batch error, or ideally we kind of do some retries. It looks as though the retry logic is happening in the background because this is going to be sort of doing batch requests in the background for us. So I would imagine retriable things like, you know, temporary timeouts or unavailable endpoints, that sort of stuff, that's already going to be handled. So I'm not going to worry about that today. But what I might be able to do is some special source error handling. One thing I did see is that, so when we create a bulkable request, this is basically translating a message into a bulk request, which could be any one of these actions. So it could be an update, it could be a delete, it could be an index, it could be create. when we create the bulk request, I saw that on this, there is an on failure closure, which caught my eye. I assume that this will trigger if the data cannot be delivered. I'll need to confirm that, but if that's the case, then we can provide granular error handling for individual items on the batch based on this, which is cool. It's fresh. It's sweet. I'm just going to get rid of that first. But let's not worry about that quite yet. We're not quite ready to get there yet. I'm just going to put a big fat to do proper error handling mate. Just so I don't forget. And there were a couple of the things that I wanted to pull out from the original pull request. So I'm like, in case you're entering this with fresh eyes because you weren't part of the previous stream, the existing pull request is so far behind that I've just found it's easier to start from scratch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to credit the author of this pull request, but I'm basically just doing this as an entirely separate exercise, just because it's less effort. So I will copy these fields. We've got flush interval and flush bytes. I'm going to take the documentation there, because I'm assuming these are things that we're going to want to expose to users. The flush threshold has duration, defaults to 30 seconds, and flush bytes is the flush threshold in bytes, defaults to 5. I'll tell you what, actually, I'm going to leave these out for now. We can always add new fields later if people want to customize that, but I'm not going to stress over that right now. Does that sound lazy? Well, that's how I intended it, so let's just move on. The other thing I want is some tests would be good, and there are tests in this pull request. We've got some integration tests, and we've got writer integration test. It's got two different versions of integration test. No, not interested in that. Writer integration test. So this creates a container, opensearch project / opensearch. So we kick that off. Disable security plugin. Discovery type single node. That sounds great. We grab the port from that. And then we just make sure we can connect. We create an index. Create two indexes. And then we have a bunch of tests. I assume, I could be wrong, I assume this is mostly copy pasted from the Elasticsearch integration tests, but that is absolutely fine. I'm 100% okay with that. I don't mind at all. In fact, I think I prefer it that way. Yes, I am just going to copy paste, because that's how I do. I don't know why we had two different integration test files. That seems weird to me. So what does it contain? Oh, that's interesting. Pretty sure I can just copy this all into one file. I don't really see why these are two separate tests, because having these as two separate things, I mean, we've got to run two separate containers when we do the integration test, which is bleh. Do you realise how much memory opensearch uses? And you want to run it twice? Sorry, I didn't realise I was supposed to be swimming in RAM. Every night I bathe in a bathtub of RAM sticks, 64 gig each. What is wrong with people? Also, why have we got Tidwall JSON in here? I'm not like hating on this library, I just don't like pulling in dependencies that we don't need. It's been used all over. Oh no! Just realised as well this uses the old style of Benthos configs. This is not gonna translate. Okay, so I've got to make a decision now. So this is a pull request that's been created for opensearch, and they've created tests for opensearch, but it's using old Benthos APIs. And then we've also got an Elasticsearch package that implements an Elasticsearch output, which also has its own tests. Is it going to be less work to rework these tests for the new APIs, or less work to copy paste the Elasticsearch test and rework that, because that already uses the new APIs, the new Benthos APIs? It could go either way. There's no way for me to know that before I actually do it. I'm just going to have to make a judgment call. Heck! I'll tell thee what. I am... I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy about this at all. Okay, let's talk about stickers. That's more important. Benthos stickers, you have a chance. I'm telling you right now, person on the internet, you have a chance to get Benthos stickers. Let me show you these pups. Not just one opportunity either. Several opportunities to get these stickers. Let me show you some of these goods. So this is the latest batch of stickers, the latest swag. We've got classic Benthos Blobfish. So I'm getting these printed now a little bit smaller than I used to, because you can fit more of them on your laptop when they're smaller. The other design we've got, this is limited edition, is these. These are plug-in Benthoses. So you can see they're plug-in. They've got wings, a silly propeller hat, and a flag. So two different designs, different types of people. Some people are going to be a standard blobfish kind of person. Some people are going to be plug-in Benthos people. I've also got some buttons, but these are kind of a bit more niche. Can't stick it on a laptop. We also have pins, but these are special. You won't get an opportunity to get these unless you're a member of the organization. For special sponsors and contributors. But if you want a chance to get these stickers, there is a chance. Homeless Vet's like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? You have to come to London. I'm going to be at London Gophers next week, and I'll be bringing stickers with me. So that's an opportunity. I'm also going to be in London again in March. One of those is going to be Kafka Summit. So if you're going to be at Kafka Summit, then you'll be able to find me there potentially, and I will give you stickers as long as I still have some on my person. You're expecting me to flip you the bird. Here's how you get stickers. There you go. If you're thinking, oh, but I'm not in London. Well, I can't fix that for you. Sponsors get stickers as well. So if you want to sponsor me, then that would be great. You can sponsor me via GitHub. If you want to do that, get your organization to send me some cash dollars, and in exchange I'll give you stickers. But enough of that. I'm not coming to London, bro. Get American. Eat you a cheeseburger. Drank some Bud Light. Ate you a cheeseburger. Gotta try and do a idiot Southern American. Well, ate you a cheeseburger, drank some Bud Light. How was that? That was probably mixing two different types of American dialect there. I'm not sure how well I did that. I'll need an American to fill me in on how convincing that was. Well, I ain't coming to no London. No, that felt a bit weak. That didn't feel... I think I need to go back to acting school. Didn't quite feel on point. I think I've got the... Well, I'll tell you what. Well, I'll tell you what. I ain't coming to no London. Okay, what do I need to do? So I'm going to copy this bit. Basically, this is all about strategic copy-pasting. Who am I going to copy-paste from? Am I going to copy-paste from this file, or am I going to copy-paste from this file? This is like my software engineering level at this point is I'm going to copy-paste from my own code rather than copy-paste from somebody who's also copy-pasted from my own code. Nailed it, buddy. You sound just like a Muppets character. Don't appreciate that. Okay. God, I hate this. So I copy paste that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste all the other tests. I mean, what's the likelihood that the tests are going to be that different, right? OpenSearch, Forks, Elasticsearch, and what, within a year they are so fundamentally different that testing them is a completely different experience. Doubt it. So I'm going to copy paste my Elasticsearch tests because they use the latest APIs. Obviously the container bit needs to stay the same. But all of this junk, take this with me. This might already be the same because I'm assuming this is already copy pasted. And then what I do is I do a search for Elastic and swap it out for OpenSearch. Oh no, now I've got double copy pastes. I think no index is the first one, isn't it? Okay, so what I've just done was a no-op because this is already a copy paste. Silly me. I'm just going to delete all of these tests and I'm going to copy paste from Elasticsearch now. I'm going to have to do some switching up. Actually, it takes a client, doesn't it? Oof. Oh dear, this isn't going to be fun, is it? Okay, So these GET requests. Okay, I think this is the easier approach then. Because all I have to do is change the way that the opensearch client is being referenced within these tests. I can also get rid of the static check lids, because we're not going to have these anymore. They were annoying. So yeah, okay, I'm going to have to change each of these client.gets. Hopefully this isn't going to look completely different to what I'm used to. Client.get. What is this API about? It's such a weird API. What is going on there? Don't forget to like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please consider liking and subscribing. Okay. What am I looking for? OS API GET request. Do. Oof. I wonder why they've done that. So basically the main shift here in terms of how the client works is rather than basing the call from the client and using a method on that to instigate a new request, what you do is you form a request from this OS API package, and then you call do on that with an arbitrary context and provide it your client. I'm not going to be too judgy here because, you know, to each their own, but that seems odd to me. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? I'm just a open source software developer. What do I know? Okay, is error? Is that what we're going to look for? What we want to know is, was this item found or not? Status? Does the response status as a string? What does that mean? I just want to know if it found the thing. It's probably going to give us an error, I'm assuming, if it hasn't found the item. So returns true when the response status indicates failure. Actually, maybe it's that then. And I'll have to check the status code to see if it's a 404 or whatever. Let's see if there's any documentation here. Or what I could do is I could just reference what they have done. Test opensearch no index. So what they did is they did a GET request. Indices exists request. I have a feeling these tests aren't actually testing what they're supposed to be. They're copy-paste jobbies, but they're not actually testing the thing. What this test is supposed to be for is to check that if you have an index that doesn't exist, I think we're supposed to be testing the behavior that it doesn't matter, the index gets created anyway. Maybe that's no longer behavior in opensearch, but I assumed it's supposed to create the index with with some default schema or whatever. Okay. I'm just going to check that it's not an error that comes back and not read the body. And I think that's equivalent. Hi in the chat, Dan. Yo, 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 what's up? Reminder, if you want to chat to me live, you are able to do that. Come on the Discord, there is a live on air channel. You can come and get your voice heard. Get your voice heard. Speak, preach. Right, next one. God, this is shit. I normally enjoy refactoring, it's just there's something zen about refactoring when you've got something else going on. But I think in this particular case, because this feels like a chore that I've been given, I'm having to make this work because the world has decided that Elasticsearch and OpenSearch are separate products. I've been given a chore, and now I feel like I'm just working for free. Essentially, is what it feels like. I know it's not really the case. I'm working for free, but then, you know, the OpenSearch devs are also working for free, and so on and so forth. Oh, this is deprecated. Test OpenSearch parallel rights. Because we're giving it a type of _doc. Don't worry about it. So we're gonna have to read this body. It's an IO read closer, so we IO read all. That's fairly straightforward. And then what we're doing is we're comparing the raw bytes, which may not match up depending on what it sends us. Whatever. I don't care. Whatever. Sniff false. We don't need that in any of our configs. That's another thing. Let's get rid of those. Actually, we don't even use the back off right now. I'll need to take that away from the config and max retries. Oh, we've stripped this output down. Yeah, we actually removed all of those fields. They're not needed at all. Because I'm not using them, am I? Back off. Don't have that. Yeah, check that out. I just deleted a load of stuff and there was no consequences. So we need to make sure that these configs all match the new behavior. I still don't understand what happened to the, like, what was the doc field whole thing about? If anybody knows Elasticsearch well, I would really appreciate a tell me like I'm an idiot explanation for why. Because basically I can understand why things were deprecated, but then stuff just seemed to break if I removed that field. So they basically deleted a field from the index, like a concept of a type for documents. I understand that. I understand the rationality behind that. But from the client perspective, I then had to manually specify _doc, like these hidden things in these client libraries. I could not, at the time, I could not work out. So Benthos needs to be backwards compatible. I can't just break people's streams just because Elasticsearch decided to make a break and change. So it still needs to work with the version that I was targeting at the time. And then I was trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the migration path then for, you know, people who are currently using a type field, and also what should I be doing for people who aren't using that? And it was just, I could not work out what the hell was going on. So I think what I ended up doing is I just made it a default that you get the underscore doc type in there, because it's like the difference between it being explicit and not explicit. Very confusing. I'm still tired. I haven't gotten enough sleep since then to recover. Help! More copy pasting. Or don't help, just leave me as I am to suffer. Mihai says, what did I miss? Just more of this. It's just been this. Open search and refactoring. And me getting pissy. Okay, disk on index. And we have the document ID, and everything else is the same, except now we're comparing that and that. That's another one done. I promise, let's say next week, I'm going to have this finished. And then I'm maybe going to do a couple more pull requests, catch up a little bit. I don't need to be fully caught up, just going to try and catch up a little bit. And then I promise I'm going to do a stream where I implement a new feature. It's going to be something new that doesn't already exist, and we're not just refactoring something that's a slight modification of something else, a copy paste of something that's a copy paste of something that's a copy paste. And I'm not going to get pissy and frustrated. I'm just going to get on with it, and we'll get a feature finished from start to finish. But not today. Today I'm a pissy man. Frustrated little man. Getting angry on the internet. Because he's having to do work. Arrgh! Open source be damned. This is basically just the same as before, is it not? I'm just comparing stuff. Open search index interpolation. Okay, yeah. It's the same. Test open search batch. Oh, also what you did miss, Mihai, was me asking people to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Let's hack the algorithm together. YouTube's like, oh my god, I don't understand these software engineering streams. They're so boring, but the engagement. What's going on? We're like, haha, we've hacked you. I've socially hacked you. We don't understand. He says he socially hacked us, but we're watertight. We don't understand. What's he done? Turns out he's found out that you can ask people to like and subscribe. And when you do that, they're more likely to do it. Oh yeah, Dan is mentioning there's a little data loss thing in there. Don't worry about it. So the open source pull request, I've got a little comment here. To do proper error handling mate. And that is to remind me that in its current state, this output is extremely lossy. Because all it does when there's errors is log, which obviously isn't good enough. I'm going to leave that for now. I'm just going to get the tests passing first and get the first commit in with the proper credit to the actual pull request author, and then we'll worry about all the other bits. All of these are basically the same, which is making it a lot easier for me because I'm just copy pasting into the copy paste. Welcome to the copy paste show. Okay, this is an interesting one because this one's deleting. So we have a test here where we're putting a bunch of documents in, and then what we do is we write a new batch where we're actually deleting some of the data, and I have to go through them all in order to confirm that some of them have been deleted. So this isn't an arbitrary copy paste. This is almost an arbitrary copy paste. So we've got a little thing here. Okay, so if it's a delete, I'm going to get rid of that. So if it's deleted, we want to check that get request will assert that that's true. It might not be the case that is error returns true when on a 404. I'm assuming it does because that's an error, right? If you try and get something from the index. Otherwise, we assert that error is false. We get the raw data and we make sure that the contents equals what we would expect. I'm going to go ahead and say that's done. This one is different. So now we are testing ID collisions. Oh, I'll tell you what, we have a field action. I think I'm going to make this mandatory so that we don't have a default anymore. Why have I marked that as advanced? It's the same in the official Elasticsearch output. Huh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to make this mandatory because I feel like a default there doesn't really sit well for me personally. The action take on the document this field must resolve to one of the following action types. And where we parse that out is here. Yeah, it's all the same, it's all fine. But that does mean in all my tests now I have to add in an explicit action just to make sure. I'm going to be doing indexing by default. Stick that in here. Why did it come with a line break? Sorted for us. It's different anyway. Okay. Right, back to this. So this is just testing that we get the thing and we do the thing. So I can copy paste one of my previous examples of this. We have a get request. That's all the same. And then finally, client docket. So I'm doing something interesting here. We're obtaining the thing. Let's just test common index. And then we assert that the thing is found. And then what we do is... Oh, okay, we're actually digging into the thing itself. Well, that's okay. We can carry on. We can do that. 4 bytes. Let me assert it's all equal. Cool. That's it, right? I think that's it. Shall I run it? I'll do a Docker pull of this image first, so that doesn't count as part of our timeout. Pull. Also, I'm not gonna have a version stamp for this. I'm gonna play dangerously. We'll just pull the latest. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy watching people pull Docker images. If you're a fan of Docker-based content, let me know in the comments. I love Docker. I love the bit when he said about Docker and how he was going to pull a Docker image. I like that bit because I like Docker. What is it with Vim content on YouTube? I mean, this is like if you see tech video content ordered by the number of views, what is going on with Vim and Tmux and tools like that, where it's like just basic dev setup? People are like, I need more. This 10-minute video on Vim, I need more. I don't understand. I don't understand why you don't just, like, if you're interested in the tools, I don't understand why people aren't just playing with the tools. Like, I'm not judging. I don't understand. Help me make sense of it. Make it make sense, people. I'm going to set a 5-minute timeout. Can you imagine just sitting here with me in silence for 5 minutes waiting for an integration test to finish? Can you imagine that? I'll tell you what will be fun as well. We can SSH into this machine and I can show you htop of what's going on here. I'm not doxing myself, am I, with this tailscale stuff? No. What I expect to see... Oh, that was quick. There's a lot of fails. Oh, okay. Right. I get it. Okay, so one key difference in the two client libraries is I was expecting to just get the message body, but I'm actually extracting the entire response context, which isn't what I was after. But that's okay. That's okay. The other question is, so there was a thing about, what was it in his pull request, where he's using sjson. There was a thing and all. Where is it used? So another key difference is that what they've done in their pull request is when you do an update action, we should hit this in the unit tests. When you do an update, opensearch, I'm assuming Elasticsearch is the same, but what it wants is it wants the entire document to be namespaced within doc. So like a root key doc, and then the rest of it is your thing. I don't think that's different compared to what Elasticsearch was doing, but maybe that's something that the client library was kind of doing in the background opaquely. Actually, I can just look at what the integration tests are doing. Let's have a look. Update. We are... okay, so we're sending just a raw message. That's interesting. That is interesting. So yeah, obviously in Benthos land, if it's, you imagine you've got a scenario where you've got a JSON document, and it looks something like this, and you want to update a document that's in your index. If I know nothing about Elasticsearch and I just want to update the fields, I would expect to send, whatever that means, the data that I'm sending out into the universe in order to make that happen, I would expect to only send the message itself. So the root of whatever I'm sending out is the JSON document with all the fields that I want to update in it. So for Benthos to do that, if there's some special source thing going on in OpenSearch or Elasticsearch or the client library, it doesn't really matter, where it needs to be namespaced within doc, then yes, I can understand the intuition of we should be doing that for the user, because they don't have an expectation to have to make sure that their payload that they're sending out is already namespaced. However, if it's a well-known common convention in the world of Elasticsearch, OpenSearch, all that stuff, that you have to do this namespacing, and therefore people will assume that the thing that they are sending out is already going to be namespaced within doc, and they're going to use mappings within Benthos to make that happen. If I've got person A who knows nothing and person B who knows a bit about Elasticsearch, I would rather make the one who doesn't know anything a little bit confused so that they're encouraged to go and learn how Elasticsearch works, than the person who knows a bit about Elasticsearch and OpenSearch, make them angry and confused so that they're just having to work out what my implementation is doing. There's obviously some magic within Benthos. What is Benthos doing? Is it because they won't know that they've got a message that's rooted at a field called doc, which is then being put in another field called doc, hence everything's broken. They might not necessarily see that unless they dig into their index. They'll just see that something's wrong, it's not matching the schema or whatever. So for that person, it's a really awful user experience that Benthos is just kind of like in the background, opaquely done this extra step. But that's what the client library was doing. That's what the Elasticsearch client library that I'm using right now was actually doing. So maybe that's a convention that we should just follow, because the Elasticsearch output... So that was something I was completely unaware of, by the way. I was completely unaware of the fact that the Elasticsearch client library was putting it within a doc namespace, and that's a thing. So I've only just discovered that now because this other client library is doing things differently. Had I been given the choice at day one, I probably would have gone with the behavior where we don't do the namespacing for you. We expect you to do it because we expect you to know what Elasticsearch is and to have done your research, unlike me. But yeah, I don't know. Ultimately, now that I know that this is a thing, I need to make sure that it's documented. So at the very least, if somebody's a bit confused in either category, that they can at least work out what's going on. But that was a bit of a tangent, sorry about that. Sorry, Mum. Let's just do a quick scout for people in the chat, people in the Discord, people on the site. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Have you liked and subscribed yet? Cheeky. It's thinking time. My brain, the cogs are turning, and I'm just thinking about, let's see if this does what I think it's doing. So new bulk update request. Let's see if this is actually doing the thing inside. Source returns the on-wire representation of the update request, split into an action and metadata data line and an optional source line. For details. So you see here, there's two different types of thing that you might update with, a doc and a script. So if we're allowing people to do an update, but then we're doing the namespacing for them, we're kind of taking away their ability to do an update via a script. We have to add a new action type. It's very confusing. You know what? I think I might fork the Elasticsearch output as well and do a kind of proper job of this, because I feel like this isn't really the way to go. Just automatically do a namespacing here, because there is actually an open pull request. Let's have a look. There is an open pull request for new elastic type. So we've got script and upsert. We've already got upsert though, don't we? Isn't that... They must have missed it. Oh yeah, I don't really like this. I don't really like this. Docker's upsert, script, scripted upsert, upsert. I'm gonna have to go and read the Elasticsearch docs, aren't I? because this is... This is making me angry. Jem Davies, how did you start on Benthos? It's a good question. So I used to work on a bunch of stream processing services. So many of them, plurality, at a company that was doing like big streaming data. They were reselling the Twitter Firehose, and I was one of a team that were managing these services. And we ended up with this massive architecture of like microservice stream processing things, and they all work differently. They all had different ways of configuring them, different behaviors, and it was good. You know, it was good tech. It was a very good team, but it was an absolute nightmare managing all these services. And at the time, there was a gradual, not necessarily a migration, but there was like a constant question of which services use Kafka and which services use ZeroMQ was like the other streaming tech. So don't worry about delivery guarantees for now, but there was just these two ways that things could communicate. So there were some services that were sending data via ZeroMQ directly, and then there were some services that were sending data over Kafka. And that meant if you wanted to reorganize the architecture, sometimes you just couldn't, because the way that you wanted to move stuff around, they would have the wrong connectors. And yeah, all of that is a lie. I was doing some deep sea diving and I saw a really cute blobfish and I was like, stream processing. But yeah, so every time we wanted to make an architectural change, it was a nightmare where you'd have to like slip in redundant services between them to kind of bridge the connections and stuff. And sometimes services would have config that was dynamic enough that it was like an easy job to make certain changes, and sometimes they didn't. And the services all had like different ways of managing config and how deep their config schemas went and how easy they were to use and things like that. Like they're all completely different levels of usability and stability and delivery guarantees and all that kind of stuff. And while I was there, I was just kind of like absorbing all the things that I hate about these services, just kind of absorbing, and all the things that I like about these services, absorbing that as well. And then it got to the point where, you know, the team that was maintaining all these services got smaller and smaller, and the need for something like Benthos was apparent, because it's not just from the perspective of you can take like 5 microservices that all have completely different ways of using them, and you can replace it with just one Benthos instance. That's obviously great, but it was more about the flexibility of having this config where it doesn't matter where the data's come from, where it's going to. And obviously things existed like Apache Camel, and I mean, it has stuff like Logstash. Logstash is completely inappropriate just because the stuff that it was doing and all that. But yeah, the Camel was just not. It's just not a go for us. It was not like in terms of performance, usability, config, all that stuff. We didn't want to have another JVM service, for example, all that stuff. And also the config, like it just wasn't. It wasn't anywhere near what we needed. So it could have been used for some of the integrations, but not replacing the actual microservices themselves. So yeah, that's kind of how I started off with the conception of I want a particular thing, and I picked Go because I was learning Go at the time. And the rest is history, as they say. I'm gonna have to go soon, so I'll tell you what, we got tests running. That's a massive win. And I made some decisions. just going to save that, make sure that it's banked. Yeah, I've never actually run Camel. No hate to the project. It's doing a lot of cool stuff. It's got an absolute massive amount of connectors. So, you know, fair play. But of all the stuff I've seen of how to run and all that stuff, not for me. I think if you're already way into the JVM and all your services JVM and you're using it as like a library sort of thing, then sure, go ahead. But I'm not doing it. I would rather work with JavaScript. I'd have a JavaScript front-end job. I'd rather write XML all day for banking software written in JavaScript than that. But that's just personal preference. Okay, yeah, I'm going to leave this here, people. I will be back, maybe tomorrow. I'm trying to keep the streams going. Trying to keep them up. Yeah, the only problem is I do work a lot slower with all you leeches sapping my energy. Cobalt, soap, and XSLT. Yeah, obviously I do this stuff a hell of a lot quicker when I don't have you lot. So, you know, I'm not going to do these streams too often, but I'm going to try and do these somewhat regularly. If there's enough people interested, I'll do these multiple times a week. Maybe even at regular times, I don't know. Do let me know in the comments how you enjoy consuming this content. And like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe. What was the other thing? Subscribe and like. And comment. And comment on other people's videos. Go onto other people's videos that have nothing to do with software or open source and leave comments like, "This isn't as good as Ash's content. I wish Ash was doing this." It's a good way for me to see how the code base works. Yeah, there's like a couple things. There's a couple things that is kind of like worth getting out there in streams form. I feel like understanding how I'm rationalizing some of the decisions as well with pull requests is good. So, you know, I'll leave comments on people's pull requests, or I'll just merge them and then make changes on top. I think sometimes it's difficult for people to understand why I've done what I've done. So obviously if you're watching me do it live, then it's a good learning experience for why I'm making changes. But yeah, it's also a good way of diving into the Benthos code base. It's also a good way of seeing firsthand how much work pull requests actually are. If you're interested in making your own open source project, it's good for seeing what the actual reality of that is. So yeah, there are a lot of benefits. And also, I make a fat stack of cash from YouTube. YouTube are like spewing money. And I'm just like, not really, I can't monetize it yet. I think I'm about halfway towards having enough content that I would be able to enable monetization. Currently I make 0, which kind of annoys me because I think if I'm able to monetize the channel, I'm able to turn off the adverts, which I will probably do because I'm not gonna have an income from YouTube from this kind of content. But what I want to do is I want to be able to disable the ads, but it looks as though you can only do that if you're actually able to monetize the channel. So right now I can't disable the ads, which is annoying because this is like educational content, whatever you want to call it. It's not really this isn't a vlog, but yeah. But yeah, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks people in the comments. Chat's been great today. You've all done a fantastic job. Engagement metrics are brilliant. Did I mention like and subscribe? And stay tuned for more. Or don't.